Hey guys, how is everyone doing today? And I want to talk about a special occasion that happened on April the 15th, a little over 105 years ago. And on April the 15th, 1912, if y'all know anything about that date, was the day that the Titanic sank. This ship was supposed to be the unsinkable ship, but it sank. Now, what people don't realize, there's another story besides the sinking of the Titanic that night, and it was a very sad occasion to watch these people have to go through this. Not, a lot of them didn't make it, but there were some survivors. And how was there survivors in this very cold waters of glacier-filled waters? So the water was definitely very cold. And the reason these people survived was because of one ship that some people probably know the name of it, but a lot of people, I would say, don't. And that is the Carpathia. The Carpathia was the ship that came to the rescue of the people of the Titanic. It is the ship that got the people that survived out of the cold water, back to dry areas, and eventually back to here to the United States. Now, the thing was, the Carpathia was not the closest ship to the Titanic when the Titanic gave the distress call. But the captain of the Carpathia said, "We cannot ignore this distress call. Let's get to the Titanic." And they did. Now, as I said, they were not able to save everybody, but the only survivors of the Titanic was due to the people of the Carpathia, the crew. So, let's take that time to remember the people of the Titanic that were lost. But let's also remember the people of the Carpathia as well, as they were the knights in shining armor who came to save the people of the Titanic. Now, if you were ever into watching history shows, you will notice that the Carpathia was in commission for quite a bit longer, and there was a show talking about people searching the bottom of the ocean for these treasure hunters, I guess you can call them. Which, myself, I'm all about treasure hunting. I love to listen to the stories. I love to do a little bit of treasure hunting myself. But they had the Carpathia was eventually hit by a missile. I don't remember if it was World War One or World War Two, but they were bringing soldiers back to the United States, and they were hit by an enemy ship, and they sank to the bottom. After all they'd done for the Titanic, they eventually met their fate and were sank to the bottom of the ocean. Uh, since then, there has been some people that has found the remains of the Carpathia, uh, and I'm glad they found the remains of that ship. And you know, but let's talk about that night they rescued the people of the Titanic. This was an amazing, amazing rescue because where the Titanic sank at was an area that none of these other ships actually wanted to go to because of the glacier-filled waters. These glaciers were a big deal. We see the glaciers on top, and sometimes it may not look like much. The glaciers may look rather small, but underneath the water, these glaciers could go down for hundreds and sometimes thousands of feet, which was the reason why the Titanic hit one of these glaciers. Now, why did it happen? Well, for one thing, the night they hit the glaciers, they were going a little too fast for the conditions of the water. But, at the time, you got the biggest ship on the ocean with the most power and the fastest, and the captain wanted to see what it had, and eventually he hit a glacier in that situation. As I said, the Carpathia was not the closest ship to the Titanic, but they were the one that answered the call. And, just keep this in remembrance. The day this happened was April the 15th, 1912. So, and a little bit about how cold the water was. Take this into consideration. I mean, well, if you're ever in Tennessee and you get a chance to go to the Pigeon Forge area, two places you need to check out there. The first place is called Wonderworks. Now, Wonderworks has a whole bunch of things that you can try out. How earthquakes feel, or how it feels to be inside of a heavy wind, hurricane force winds. But they got this little place here at Wonderworks where you can stick your hand in this water, and the temperature of this water is the exact temperature of what the water was when the Titanic sank. And this is the water that these people were in to get an idea of how cold this was. You might want to check something like that out because it was pretty cold. Now, if you're down at Wonderworks and you want to know a little bit more about the Titanic and maybe see some artifacts from the Titanic, just down the road in Pigeon Forge, and I would say it's within walking distance, they actually got a Titanic museum there that you can walk through. They give tours of it. So, so if you want to get an idea of how cold the water was, or what stuff was on the Titanic and what the Titanic was like, definitely go to Pigeon Forge and check those two places out. Again, that is Wonderworks and the Titanic Museum in Pigeon Forge. Now, why did so many ships ignore the stress call from the Titanic? I mean, you got to realize it was pretty late when Titanic gave the stress call. And, back then, they didn't have communication like we had today. So, the stress call was basically Morse code, SOS. And a lot of these people that were operators or radio operators at the time, the time they were given the stress call, a majority of them probably went to bed. So, but the radio operator of the Carpathia heard the stress call. When he got the message, he went immediately to his captain and said, "Hey, the Titanic is sinking. They need help quickly." Now, even though the Carpathia was not the closest ship to them, they were the fastest ship that could probably get to them in a decent amount of time. So when the Titanic started sinking, it started sinking fairly quick. But it was like going through like an obstacle maze getting to these people in the Titanic, because if you ever watch it and you see these glaciers and how they work, I mean, they're all over the place. So this is not a place where you want to get close to these glaciers, and you don't want to be going at a very fast speed, because these glaciers, as we found out, can really do some damage. Now, another thing that I wanted to point out here was there's a lot of good websites about this story. That very same night, though, here's what's another interesting thing. That very same night when the Titanic was given the stress call, there was a few ships that issue SOS signal calls to the Carpathia, but the Carpathia said, "Hey, the Titanic needs our help," and they were not the closest boat to them. But as I said, April the 15th, 1912, let's remember the people of the Titanic, but let's also remember those valiant heroes, the crew of the Carpathia, who went out of their way to get the survivors that were left from the Titanic. And remember, the crew of the Titanic, the crew of the Carpathia as well, because they were bringing soldiers home. As I said, I can't recall off the top of my head if it was World War I or World War II, but they were eventually gunned down and sank to the bottom of the ocean. Again, I just wanted to mention this because I looked at my computer and I'm like, oh, it's April the 17th. 2 days ago I should have done this video, but again, it's been a little over 105 years ago to this date, April the 15th, 105 years ago, the Titanic sank to the bottom, and it was the Carpathia that was the rescue ship. So, as I said, I wanted to just give this quick video out to my people. I hope you enjoy it. Any other events that you want to briefly talk about or do a video about, please let me know. please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I greatly appreciate this. And guys, thank you so much for watching my videos. I hope to post some more later on, so talk to you guys later.